Most workplace accidents are tragic. Some are genuinely horrifying. But what happened on the Byford Dolphin was something else entirely. Investigators later said it didn't even look like an accident. It looked like the inside of a bomb. It involved 4 professional saturation divers, a routine shift change, and one small mistake that turned the human body into something science had never seen before. What happened that day didn't just kill men. It forced doctors, engineers, and the entire deep-sea diving industry to rethink what they thought was physically possible. This is the profoundly disturbing story of the Byford Dolphin. Saturation divers are these incredible professionals who go down really deep, like 500 feet or more, to service equipment on oil rigs and pipelines. On November 5, 1983, one group of those divers was working on a Norwegian oil rig in the North Sea called the Byford Dolphin. A routine shift change was about to take place, something the crew had done countless times before. But here's the crazy part. Instead of just a quick dive, they'll often spend up to a whole month living in this cramped, high-pressure chamber, basically just commuting back and forth to their work shifts underwater. It takes a huge support team for a saturation diving operation to run. You have life support technicians who make sure the air mix in the chamber is perfect, and the dive control team who manages the diving bell. That's the crane-operated elevator that takes the divers up and down while monitoring the guys working. They even have cooks for the guys cooped up in the living quarters. Then there are the tenders. They have this crucial support role managing the umbilical, that thick line that supplies air and communication to the divers. In the past, they were also responsible for docking the diving bell to the living chambers. As an experienced commercial diver put it, the saturation divers are completely at the mercy of the tender and of their supervisors on the dive control team. Ever since the early days of scuba diving, people have learned, sometimes the hard way, when a diver goes deep, the weight of the water presses in from every direction, forcing nitrogen from the air they breathe to dissolve into their bloodstream. That by itself isn't dangerous. The danger comes when the pressure disappears too fast. It's like shaking a soda bottle and ripping the cap off. The gas that was harmless under pressure suddenly explodes into bubbles. Inside a human body, those bubbles can block blood flow, damage the heart and brain, and shut everything down in seconds. Divers call this decompression sickness, or the bends. It can cause extreme pain, confusion, paralysis, even heart attacks and strokes. If doctors catch it quickly, they can sometimes save a person by putting them back under pressure in a hyperbaric chamber and very slowly bringing them back to normal. Recreational divers avoid this by rising slowly and taking planned safety stops. The deeper and longer a person stays underwater, the more nitrogen their body absorbs. Eventually, the body becomes completely saturated, which is where saturation diving gets its name. These divers often work at depths approaching 1,000 feet. If they tried to decompress the way a normal diver does, slowly swimming up with long pauses, it would take days just to reach the surface. Instead, they travel in pressurized diving bells and live inside hyperbaric chambers that keep their bodies at the same pressure as the ocean below. For up to 28 days, that chamber becomes their entire world, sleeping on narrow bunks, eating meals passed through pressure hatches, hearing each other's voices distorted by helium. By staying at what crews call storage depth, the divers can keep working without having to decompress after every shift. Only when the job is finished does the long process begin, almost a full week of slow, careful decompression before they can finally walk out into normal air again. So, what happened on November 5th, 1983? An experienced tender named William Crammond was doing a routine procedure on the Byford Dolphin rig in the North Sea. He'd just successfully transferred 2 divers into one of the pressurized living chambers. 2 others were already resting in the second. The standard procedure is to never detach the diving bell until the chamber doors are completely sealed, but somehow the bell detached before the doors closed, causing an explosive decompression. As one expert flatly stated, "It's a death sentence. You won't survive." The air pressure inside the living chambers instantly plummeted from the equivalent of hundreds of feet underwater, 9 atmospheres, to normal surface pressure, 1 atmosphere. This explosive rush of air was so powerful it sent the heavy diving bell flying, killing Crammond instantly and severely injuring his fellow tender. The fate of the 4 divers inside was just horrific. The autopsy reports suggested 3 of the men, Edwin Arthur Coward, Roy P. Lucas, and Björn Gaver Bergerson, were essentially boiled from the inside as the compressed nitrogen in their blood violently erupted into gas bubbles. They died instantly. The 4th diver, Truls Hellevik, suffered an even more gruesome death. He was standing right in front of the partially opened chamber door when the pressure released, and the force sucked his body through the narrow opening. A horrifying accident in 1983 on a Norwegian oil rig called the Byford Dolphin tragically killed 4 divers and 1 crew member. This became a massive wake-up call for the whole commercial diving industry, leading to much tighter safety rules to make sure something that awful never happened again. Initially, Norwegian officials blamed the deadly Byford Dolphin incident on William Crammond, putting the blame on him. However, it was later proven that the accident was actually caused by faulty equipment. An expert noted that the fact there was no safety interlock on the locking mechanism was a huge flaw, and now safety interlocks are the highest priority safeguard on all saturation diving systems. The goal is to design safety systems that can tolerate understandable human error. Tragically, the initial investigation completely devastated Crammond's family. His wife, Ruth Crammond, had to cope with his death and the horrific blame placed on him. She said in 2015 that his death destroyed her, and the fact that he was blamed, something still repeated online, was horrendous. She never even told her son, who idolized his father, that he was supposedly to blame. She never believed the findings because of his years of experience, calling the claim that he made an amateur's mistake unbelievable. The North Sea had an oil boom starting in the 1960s, and safety wasn't always a top priority. Over the next few decades, there were at least 58 diving deaths in the area. The Byford Dolphin was one of the worst oil field disasters in history, says the diving expert, and it led to sweeping changes in the North Sea and in commercial diving safety worldwide. Today, every diving operation must conduct extensive risk and hazard assessments, and procedures have redundancies built in to eliminate the risk of human error or faulty equipment. Some rigs even have special hyperbaric lifeboats that can evacuate divers during a fire or storm without having to bring them up to surface pressure first. Shamefully, it took decades for the Norwegian government, which operated the Byford Dolphin, to accept responsibility and compensate the families. It wasn't until 2009, 26 years later, that the government paid undisclosed sums of money to the families of all 6 victims, including the injured tender. The final report confirmed that faulty equipment, not human error, was to blame. The Byford Dolphin rig itself was finally retired in 2016. Okay everyone, if you made it this far, I would like to say thank you for that. I hope you do like and subscribe, as it does help with the channel. I also want to mention I am trying to improve as I go, and I hope to see you in the next episode.